Hey, what's going on YouTube? In this video, we're actually going to talk about uh, a inconsistent or inconsistency within the storyline. And I think a lot of people who are zombie veterans or just, followers of the storyline will agree with me that, it's kind of ridiculous because uh, I'll give my version of the story that I wish should have happened and probably should have happened. Um, But basically, here it is. When Dare Reese came out for World at War, it was implied that Fluffy, Samantha's dog, had killed Dr. Maxis and Samantha. But then there were, I think, one or two theories that stemmed off from that. The first one was that Dr. Maxis and Samantha somehow got away, and the other one was that they were in the teleporter and Dr. Maxis activated the teleporter and they all just teleported somewhere. So those were the theories. Blops 1 comes around. You got Kino, not much. Extension, not much. Call of the Dead, not much. Shangri-La, not much. And then all of a sudden, and here's why it doesn't make sense to me, we get Moon. And all this time, we've had Samantha doing her little thing, and, it was implied that she was in control of the zombies, and people found out a little bit more about the storyline and that sort of thing. But then all of a sudden, boom, here's Maxis. Like, what? I thought you were dead. So, Treyarch basically at this point is saying, oh no, he didn't die. But I'm sitting here thinking to myself, where was he in Kino and Extension and all these other maps? All of a sudden it's just Moon. That's it. I mean, that's the best you can come up with, is he just comes out of nowhere. Okay, I guess I'll run with it. So Dr. Maxis is still alive somehow. Oh, wait, I listened to that radio. Yeah, that's right. That's on Moon, which clearly implies Dr. Maxis is shot in the head. Unless they were just firing a pistol off for no reason, and that really wouldn't make any sense. So, I'm pretty sure Dr. Maxis is dead. Okay. Blops 2 rolls around. We get transit mode. Well, all of a sudden, Dr. Maxis is apparently still alive. Of course, we learned that in Moon, but somehow, how is that possible? Because he was shot, and people will say he's in the ether. So is Samantha. I mean, isn't she? Or did I miss something? I mean, was she just in a black pyramid, and somehow the metallicness and the alien architecture of that pyramid gave her control over the zombies? Or have I just been fucking stupid this entire time and completely missed the memo of Samantha not being being in the ether controlling the zombies? Did I miss that? I mean, Gersh was in the ether, I think. So, I'm just a little curious, because in Blops 2, like I said, it's implied that he's either still alive or he's in the ether. But which is it? Because if he's in the ether, then of course he's dead. I mean, that fits somewhat with the storyline. But he has no reason to be in the ether. And, this is kind of getting more into the problem I have with the storyline at this point. Because, of course, I just gave you guys the inconsistencies. It's like they changed the story like 4 or 5 times, even though the map Moon itself kind of contradicts itself. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense how Dr. Maxis is off doing his own thing. You see what I'm saying? Like, there was a reason why Richtofen is in control now. Because he switched places with Samantha. Well, Dr. Maxis, of course, I mean, You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. So, I don't know. But the problem I have with the storyline at this point is it just, it seems like they really didn't think this through. And that's bottom line. Really, with 90% of the zombie storyline, the 10% being World at War. But Blops 1 and 2, I mean, I really don't know what these guys were thinking when creating the storyline. And actually, I do know what they were thinking. They were thinking about that money. And I'm going to explain that here in a second. But what I want to get into is how I would have had the storyline. Of course, after Dare Reese, everything would have been the same. But in Blops 1, it would have been implied that one of the 2 or 3 rumors that Dare Reese had would have been right. And I'm leaning more towards the one where Samantha is... It's kind of a hybrid of a few, but Samantha was indeed killed by her own dog, as well as her, dad, or her dad was killed by Fluffy as well. So Samantha, being the young child she is and having all these emotions and that sort of thing, she is in a position where she's just a ghost. She's a ghost of Dare Reese, and I'll get to that here in a second, like a little bit more into that. Dr. Maxis, he's a Nazi. He just died. No one cares. He just died. Simple as that. Fluffy, on the other hand, was created by, of course, science, and it was turned into an hellhound. And because of that, it was zombified. Well, I think it would have been a lot better if the storyline continued the indication that there was something a little bit darker in control of the zombies. And all the way through Blops 1, I had it in the back of my head because I've seen the bloodstains everywhere. I don't know if you guys have watched or looked for those, but there's bloodstains of these Grim Reapers, and it's just, I got to thinking, well, what does the Grim Reaper actually do? Well, he kills people, but I mean, technically he's just collecting their soul. That's it. They just die and he's collecting their soul. So I got to thinking, well, if you are a person who has died and you don't have a soul, but you're somehow allowed to live, you're technically a zombie. Or if you're a person who has been killed, but you actually weren't killed, you were just stripped of your soul or whatever, then maybe it's possible that you turned into a zombie. But then I started thinking about it, well, the Grim Reaper bloodstains are in blood, right? So I got to thinking, well, what would happen if the Grim Reaper was ever killed? And then I thought about it, a little bit more, and it was like, okay, well, then maybe the soul of a person, a soul leaving somebody is actually what keeps them, dead. So if there's no Grim Reaper type person to collect the soul, but a person's body, the vessel, if you will, kind of getting into Christianity type stuff, but if your body's the vessel and your body dies, but you still have a soul, then your body's going to try and still do stuff. But because you're dead, technically, I mean, your soul makes up most of your body, but, maybe something, because your brain's dead, you can only function with normal, functions, eat, sleep, crap, that sort of thing. Of course, zombies don't need any of that because they're dead, but maybe they need to eat, and that's instinct for a zombie or a person, which could sort of explain why their eyes are glowing. I mean, maybe it's possible that if your soul is left in your body, maybe it glows, and the only, holes or optical beams, if you want to call them that, would be your eye sockets and your eyeballs. And so that might explain why they glow or something. I'm just going off on a limb here. I'm not saying this would be concrete, but that whole aspect, I mean, I could I thought of that actually off the top of my head, and it took me, what, 2 minutes? And I could explain that within one map. It's like, okay, guys, we've got all this cool shit. We explained a little bit more about Samantha and everything, so the people are really loving the storyline. You know, we got to keep it going. And then it's like, okay, well, what could we do for the next map? And it's like, okay, well, how can we expand on the storyline? Well, in Dare Reese, we can hear Samantha's voice, but she's not in control of the zombies. So how can we expand on that a little bit more? Well, then it would go into something like, okay, well, let's have a map that Samantha would know, she's familiar with, and it's something she's been tied to, and, you know, she knows a lot about, and, you know, that sort of thing. And we'd have a whole map around that area, and, of course, you would be able to hear Samantha's voice, and she'd be having fun like little kids do, especially little girls during the 1940s. You know, maybe you could, like, have one of those Easter egg moments where you just stand in the corner for, like, a minute straight and you can hear laughter of a girl in the background or something like that. And it's just, you know, it's just implied that that is Samantha. I mean, it's plain and simple. She would be the Easter eggs, or Easter egg part of the storyline as a whole, you know. We may learn a little bit more about her and that sort of thing. Our characters would still continue on. And, you know, as far as Richtofen, of course, he would have been the bad guy from this point on. But I think that there could have been a side plot, because obviously he works with the Illuminati. But his whole thing was he wanted to kill Dr. Maxis and Samantha. That could have been a simple revenge thing. You see what I'm saying? It's like, oh man, you don't want to mass produce my awesome weapon? I mean, come on, man. I spent, you know, I mean, I would be pretty pissed too. It's like, dude, I've got a gun that I've built that shoots fucking lightning, and you don't want to mass produce it because you're doing your own thing and you're trying to teleport people and do some fucking crazy stuff. Which, speaking of that, I might do a video on stuff like this because it ties in with the storyline. It is accepted widely now, I think, that the whole purpose of Group 935 was to be able to improve the human condition. At the same time, because they were getting funding by Hitler and all those other guys, they were told to also build weapons. So we had the teleporters and that sort of thing, because they wanted to do the whole time travel thing and, you know, teleport from one place to another as well. But at the same time, they were told to build weapons. And, of course, Richtofen, being the crazy psychopath that he is, he liked electroshock therapy, so he created most of the traps in Verrückt, as well as, you know, Shinonuma and dairies and stuff like that. That might have been standard issue. If the zombies ever got out, you know, you could turn it on and it'd kill everything that came through. Because maybe they were testing zombies everywhere over there. So, I don't know, I think that because of the nature of Dr. Maxis in Group 935, how they wanted to improve the human condition, you know, peace throughout the war, I think Dr. Maxis just went along with what Hitler and everybody else was doing, because it's like, hey man, you know, once we take over the world, we'll have one world government and everything like that, so we can improve the human condition strictly for the Nazis. And I know people would say, oh, well, Italy and Japan was a part of the Axis powers during World War II, but I think it's known now that Hitler was actually going to turn on Japan and Italy after World War II. After they won the entire planet, he was going to have basically a third world war with the other two powers he was friends with, and he would have rolled over them easily. Germany had some pretty badass weapons. So, I think in one of my next videos, I'm going to talk about the Vril. They have a huge part in Group 935. So, I will talk to you guys in my next video, And that's it.